What's up, guys? This is MMAsherdog from Bluff the Spot, and in today's video, we will take a look at the biggest online poker pots of a living poker legend that definitely does not need an introduction, Daniel Negreanu. We are right in the middle of the heads-up grudge match between Daniel Negreanu and Dog Polk, so it's a perfect time to look at their skills. I found the hands for this video on HighStakesDB, and maybe we missed a couple of big pots, but these are some of the biggest pots I've ever seen him play. Especially the hand you're going to see at the end is crazy, so stay tuned for that one. But before we jump into the action, let me quickly announce that I put together a free training video for you guys that is not only going to show you how to make more money playing poker without studying more, but also it includes 2 recorded coaching sessions with me and 2 students. The training product is super valuable, but only available for a limited amount of time, so make sure you check it out in the link in the description down below. All right, now, without further ado, let's jump right into the action. So let's have a look at this hand. It's 100-200, and it's Take Chip, a French-Canadian player, versus Daniel, who's KidPoker, and he raises the 3x on the button. Nowadays, a lot of people choose a smaller sizing, but remember, this hand was played a few years ago, so the metagame was a little bit different. Take Chip goes for the 3-bet to 12 big blinds, which is fine. And Daniel 4-bets. Daniel's going to open a lot of hands, therefore Take Chip is going to 3-bet a lot of hands, therefore KidPoker is going to 4-bet a lot of hands. So I like this move, assuming the hand makes any sense, of course, but I don't really like the sizing. I think you should pick a slightly bigger size, right? I mean, when he goes for 5K with 37.5 behind, he's giving Take Chip a really good price to outdraw him. Take Chip, however, isn't having any of it, and he shoves all in. So for 200 big blinds, I think he probably represents a range of something like queens, kings, aces, and ace-king. If he believes that Daniel's a very loose player, he might just loosen up a little bit, or he might even tighten up a little bit. Let's see. Daniel calls. I mean, you can bluff 4-bet, but you can't really bluff call. So maybe Take Chip shoved it in with a hand like, who knows, right? Like ace-5 suited. But Take Chip shows up with a hand he's supposed to have, right? Ace-King. That's one of the hands we thought he was going to shove all in with. I mean, it's 200 big blinds, but we're playing heads-up poker. However, Mr. KidPoker shows up with ace-5 offsuit, which is very, very confusing. I am not sure if these guys just decided to blindly get it in for fun or something, but the fact that Take Chip has ace-king, right, you'd think, nah, this was not a coincidence. So, I mean, Take Chip's play is great. I don't really know what Daniel was doing. I don't mind his bluff 4-bet. I mean, it's kind of loose, but it's fine. But why are you calling it a shove? Are you really putting your opponent on king-queen suited or some kind of random crazy hand? So, I'll give Take Chip, well, I'll give him a 10. His play is great. And I'll give Daniel, I mean, it's tough to even rate this play, right? It seems like they're goofing around, but I'll give him a 2. I like the open raise. I don't hate the 4-bet, but yeah, calling the shove is very confusing to me. Let's hope Daniel can redeem himself in the second hand. So the second hand was played against an even tougher opponent in Isildur 1, who back then was one of the top heads-up players, maybe the best one. And he 3-bets to 1100. This time it's 5100. Daniel goes for a much larger 4-bet this time, so he kind of learned from the first hand. And Isildur calls. Flop is Jack 6-5. You know, not a board that improves Daniel a whole lot. He could have 4-bet a hand like Pocket Jacks, of course, or maybe he bluff 4-bet something like King Jack offsuit, and now he has a pair. But Isildur's going to hit some hands like 5s or 6s, 6-5, maybe Pocket Jacks as well. So he's gonna like this flop quite a bit. Daniel goes for a little bit over half pot here, which is okay. And Isildur goes for the small check raise, which is actually a really cool advanced play. He's putting Daniel in a really tough spot if Daniel had a hand like, you know, ace-king with a spade or with a club, right? If you had a hand like pocket 10s, a lighter 4-bet, he's putting him in a tough spot. So I really like this sizing by Isildur. Good play so far. And Daniel gets a shove all in, which I think is fine. There's already 16K in the pot, and Daniel has 22K behind. I think that's absolutely fine. So he's representing mostly a hand like queens, kings, aces, maybe something like ace-7 of clubs, you know, flush draw plus backdoors. And Isildur calls. I really hope for Daniel's sake he doesn't have ace-5 offsuit, and I hope for my sake he doesn't have ace-5 offsuit. It would be a pretty quick video. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Daniel shows up with aces, which is absolutely fine. You're sweating a little bit, right, if you've got aces here. Isildur could definitely have him beat, but he doesn't. Nice hand to Daniel. I like the open raise, obviously. I mean, come on. We have aces, right? We 4-bet, fine. We bet the flop, all good. And obviously, we are never folding against a check raise. We can chip it in. That's just fine. So I'll give Daniel a 9 out of 10. I think his play was great, and he's redeemed himself so far. Isildur's play I don't like so much, even though I do think Isildur is one of the best ever. I don't mind the 3-bet, but calling the 4-bet out of position, such a big 4-bet against a guy who, at least traditionally, is a little bit nittier, right? That's kind of loose. And then getting it in on the flop for 250 big blinds isn't very appealing either. But then again, if Daniel's just messing around, right, maybe it's a great play. So I'll give Isildur a 6 out of 10. I think his play is a little bit too loose unless you're playing a very aggressive opponent. So, nice hand. All right, next hand. This is actually a 6-max hand. And we've got, under the gun, Kriga, not sure. I don't know who that player is, opening to 3x. Nowadays, a lot of people would use a smaller sizing. And Daniel raises to 2K. They are, they're about 100 big blinds deep, so I think that's a fine sizing. The cutoff now goes for the cold call. This is something that nowadays you wouldn't see anymore, and You're Not in Danger goes for the cold call here. It seems kind of like a bit of a live poker game. This pre-flop game is very different to today's game. Anyway, Kriga's getting a great price, but then again, he's out of position to 3 people, right? If he has a hand like pocket 4s here, a pretty sweet spot. If you flop a set, you're golden, at least most of the time, and if you don't, well, you can probably just get out of the way. So Kriga could definitely have a hand like 5s or 7s here. If Daniel has a hand like kings or aces, he's not loving it, obviously. You never love it unless there's a king or ace on board, but it's safe enough. So Daniel goes for a medium-sized bet. I probably would have picked a slightly smaller bet, but it's absolutely fine. And Kriga shoves now, which is definitely concerning. So Daniel's probably putting him on like a 5, like a set of 5s or 7s. Maybe a queen and a flush draw, combo draw. I don't think Kriga is crazy enough to shove here with king 10 of diamonds. But then again, I don't know anything about him, right? Who knows? Safe run out for Daniel. Daniel shows up with pocket queens here. I obviously like the 3-bet. You could actually check a hand like this on the flop sometimes. I mean, you've got top set. You don't really fear a heart that much on the turn because you still have a backdoor flush draw and you can boat up. So he could definitely trap multi-way if he wanted to. But, betting is okay. And obviously calling the check raise very happily. And Kriga did have one of those draws, right? Ace-6 of hearts. So, he was happily shoving it in on the flop, knowing, well, I block aces, I block ace-queen, I've got a flush draw, I've got a backdoor straight draw. I can never really get it in that badly. And, maybe Daniel puts it in with a hand like, 8-9 of hearts, and I'm golden. So, I'll give Daniel a 7.5 out of 10. I think getting it in on the flop is obviously great if you can, but you could even slow play here. So, fun hand. I haven't seen this one, I promise. All right, so again, 6-max hand. Slightly different lineup this time. Call and a fold. Actually, I'm lying. I have seen this hand. I actually remember this hand. So Muha84, who is a Belarusian reg, I believe. One of the best regs from back in the day. I still remember him calling down Reagan 70 with king high and a squeeze pot out of position for $250,000 something. That was crazy. So you can find that hand on HighStakesDB. So Muha flats into small blind, which doesn't happen as much anymore nowadays, especially when you're not getting a great price. But okay, he flats. KidPoker is not loving this board, but he doesn't hate it. Obviously, he has to be a little bit concerned about a set. A hand like pocket 9s is definitely within Muha's range. So he decides to bet here, 500, okay. And Muha decides to check raise. So when he check raises against a pretty large bet, he's representing a lot of sets. Some pair plus draws, some combo draws, some backdoor hands. So he's representing a pretty strong range. So it's a little bit surprising that actually Daniel Negreanu decides to 4-bet here. Actually, 3-bet the flop. If Muha has a set and he can easily have one, Daniel should be a bit concerned. So it tells me that he's pretty strong here himself. Wow, sick. So Muha does 4-bet the flop. So he's really repping his set at this point. Maybe he's pretending to have a set, by raising here with a hand like ace-4 of hearts, knowing he blocks Daniel's sets and he has a nut flush draw and a backdoor straight draw. And Daniel calls, okay. Turn is a jack, and Muha decides to check, which is very confusing. There's less than pot behind. Why are you checking? If you have 8s, 4s, and deuces, you probably just want to get the money in, right? So what are you representing here? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, Muha checks. Daniel bets. And I probably would have preferred a different bet size by Daniel, either just shipping or maybe a smaller bet, but okay. He puts in most of his stack. I cannot imagine him folding to a shove here very often. And he doesn't. And Muha has... I'm more interested in Muha's play than Daniel's. Daniel has ace-8 of diamonds. And somehow he wins the pot. That's crazy. That's crazy. So he opened pre, fine. I mean, good. He c-bet the flop, absolutely mandatory. I mean, you've got top pair, top kicker, backdoor flush draw. So absolutely good c-bet. But then he three bets against a check raise, and you kind of get yourself in trouble a little bit, right? Because Muha can have those sets. He can have the big draw, so he cannot run you. And Muha actually pretended to have a set by 4-betting the flop, except that he had a combo draw. I don't really hate that play, but on the turn he should just shove, you know? I mean, you really don't want to call a shove here, so he must have put Daniel on a set here. But I think the best way of realizing equity is just by shoving there. So very surprising. But he did shove, he did realize his equity, and somehow he didn't hit one of his million outs. So I'll give Muha... I'll give him a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a very fun play. I'll give Daniel a 6. You know, he definitely overplayed his hand a little bit. He could have just checked back the turn or called a check raise. He kind of overplayed his hand a little bit. This is like a typical live poker mistake. But very fun hand. All right, next hand. Mostly opens under the gun, 3x. And Daniel flats. I mean, they're very deep, so... And Daniel's also very deep with Kanu 7, Alex Miller, and with Take Chip, so he has a lot of playability here. Both guys fold, however, and this flop is pretty good for both players. I expect Moleswe to open 5s and 7s under the gun, all the good kings, and Daniel's going to flat 5s and 7s. I expect him to flat some hands like King-Queen on the button, King-Jack, King-10, maybe even weaker ones. Daniel loves small ball poker, so maybe even has hands like 5-3 suited here. Daniel goes for the small raise on the flop versus a big c-bet. So when Moleswe bets this large, he's representing a pretty good king or better. So Daniel's saying, I've got like a king and a flush draw, or pocket 7s, pocket 5s, maybe some very strange slow played ace-king or aces. Moleswe calls, makes sense. The 8 doesn't change a whole lot. I don't really expect players to have 6-9 or 6-4. If anything, Daniel's more likely to flat those hands on the button. Daniel bets pretty large but not huge, okay. And Moleswe calls. When Moleswe calls again, I'm also putting him on a king and a flush draw, just a king. Maybe some kind of combo draw like ace-9 of clubs. So this is definitely a scary card for both players, unless they've just got it. Daniel bets 15k. He's kind of representing different hands throughout this hand. You know, at first he's repping a set on the flop. On the turn he's repping a set. But I don't think he would bet 15k and 18k with a set, right? So at this point he's repping a straight. But how do you have a straight here? You know, so he's repping a flush. Okay. Flush. Flush it is. Flush it is. And Daniel has king, queen of clubs. Interesting. So he flats pre-flop, absolutely fine. And then on the flop, he's thinking, well, even if Moleswe has me beat, I have a shitload of equity. Plus, I just have the best hand very often. So I'll give him an 8.5 out of 10. He did a great job of milking Moleswe for a lot of money. So I'm not sure what Moleswe had here, to be honest. If he had a hand like pocket aces here, I think he could have just folded. So I'm guessing he had a set. But back then, people would have just 3-bet the flop a lot. So a very confusing hand here. Maybe Moleswe had a hand like 8-9 of clubs. That would have made a lot of sense. We'll never know. All right, we've got 2 hands left. Muha raises 3x, standard back then. And KidPoker actually goes for a very small 3-bet. Most people would employ slightly larger 3-bet sizing. Muha 4-bets, 2.5x in position. Most guys, again, would go a little bit larger, but fine. Oh, whoa. What's happening over here? So I'm absolutely fine with KidPoker 5-betting. In fact, it's a very good play to 5-bet. When Muha's so deep, he's not just going to 4-bet aces only, right? So you can definitely still value raise here. And you can also have some bluffs. Make Muha fold. Otherwise, he just sees the flop and, you know, gets to keep the pot smaller. So I definitely like the fact that he's re-raising. But why ship all in? I mean, you're risking $36,000 and there's 2.5 plus your 1K plus the 50 in the pot, right? You're risking way too much. Why don't you make it something like 6,000? And then if you're bluffing, you can still fold. So yeah, quite confusing here. I have no idea what they have. Didn't expect that hand. Pocket 4s against ace-jack. Okay. Similar to the first hand, this must have been some type of agreement. I mean, Muha is an excellent player, and he played his hand in an awful manner. KidPoker is a good player too, and he played his hand in an awful manner, so this must have been some type of gamble. If we had to rate this play, we'd give both guys like a 2 out of 10, and that's being generous. So, yeah, I would like to know what was behind this type of stuff. Maybe just at next hand we go all in. I don't know. Would be fun. It would be a fun story. Maybe one day we should get Daniel Negreanu on our podcast, and then we can ask him. So, by the way, guys, if you like these videos, if you want to comment, please leave a comment down below. I read all of them, and we can discuss the hands. They're very entertaining so far. Let's go to the last one, which is actually the biggest pot of the session. All right, last hand. You're not in danger. Raises, and Daniel calls. Yep. I remember this hand, so I'm a little bit biased. You're not in danger's name is a little bit deceiving because he's definitely saying, hey, bro, you're in danger right now. You are definitely in danger. But KidPoker says, fuck you, I'm not in danger. You're the one who's in danger. And you're not in danger says, well, fuck you. Now you're in danger. So let's go back a little bit. You're not in danger makes the 800 here into a $900 pot. I would have preferred a slightly smaller bet size here, but I get what he's doing. KidPoker still check raises. He's saying, listen, I don't need the nuts to check raise here. I have a really strong range. I don't believe you're that strong. I'm going to take advantage here. And then against that range, you're facing a 3-bet, right? So you're in danger. You're not in danger. Should be pretty damn strong here. So the difference between back then and now is that people 3-bet the flop a lot more back then. When Daniel calls here, he's repping a strong range. He's representing a lot of sets, straights, 2 pairs, open-enders like 7-8, maybe some gut shots like 9-8, maybe something like 6-4, 5-4. I definitely think this 9 is a little bit better for Daniel. I think he's quite likely to have 7-8, but then again, you're not in danger could have it as well. You're not in danger bets 10K, and it's difficult for him to find bluffs. Maybe he takes hand like 5-4 suited or King 4 suited, and he just turns this one into a bluff, but it's pretty damn difficult to bluff here. Daniel shoves all in, so he's repping a really strong hand. Even a hand like pocket 3s is very good here, but you could definitely be behind. Wow, you're in danger calls. 101K pot at 20K, and that's a sick pot size. Daniel has the stone cold nuts. Wow. And you're not in danger as a second nuts. Crazy pot. So you're in danger open raise, which is kind of loose, but okay. And he 3-bet the flop with the nuts, thinking, well, this Daniel Negreanu guy, I saw him on High Stakes Poker. He wasn't folding anything, and I'm going to milk this guy. I believe him very strong. I don't think he's that strong. Let me go after him. And Daniel, well, obviously he was aggressive on a flop like this, a very good board for him. And he got really lucky, and he check raised. He did everything great. So I'll give Daniel a 9.5, end this video on a positive note. And I'll give You're in Danger, I'll give him an 8.5. So pretty fun one. And as you can see, Daniel made a lot of really good plays in this video. He also made some very bad plays, but they were so bad that I think there was something behind it, right? So, do I think he's going to beat Doug Polk heads up? Probably not. Doug was one of the best poker players in the world heads up, back in 2013. He's not one of the best anymore, but he's still very, very good. So Daniel definitely has a shot. I think right as we speak, as you see this video, they're about even. Maybe Doug has a small lead. I think Daniel can win this one. He is the underdog for a reason, but he's got a shot. So I can't wait to find out who's going to win this one. And stay tuned on our YouTube channel because we have a lot of content coming up. So all right, guys, that has been it for me. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on future episodes. Also, make sure to grab my brand new free training that will help you make more money playing poker without studying more before it expires. You will find the link in the description down below. Also, make sure to comment on this video so we have some fun interaction. See you next time, and thanks for watching.